Fin whales are the second largest beings on Earth and are classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List.
Monitoring of the 2023 hunt found that the majority of whales killed were female, 11 of whom were pregnant, and one was still lactating, meaning her dependent calf will have been left to die at sea.
Live whales are worth more to Iceland than dead ones, by every measure.
Hello and welcome to the Ocean News Podcast, an audio series in which we take a deeper dive into the most important stories and biggest headlines from the Oceanographic newsroom. I'm Eva Cahill, the editorial assistant here at Oceanographic, and today's episode takes us to the North Atlantic, to Iceland, where a whaling company is preparing to hunt fin whales this summer, even as the government that issued its licence prepares to ban the very practice it is authorising. Fin whales are the second largest animals on Earth, and these huge marine mammals stand at the very top of their food chain, making them really important indicators of overall ecological balance in marine environments. And they also play a really critical role in carbon sequestration. By feeding at the depths and then defecating near the surface, fin whales release iron and nitrogen, fertilising phytoplankton, which produce at least 50% of the world's oxygen and capture 37 billion metric tonnes of carbon dioxide every year. Their populations were severely depleted due to industrial whaling, with roughly 750,000 killed in the Southern Hemisphere alone between 1904 and 1979, and Iceland still hunts them commercially. The Icelandic whaling company Hvalur has announced it intends to resume fin whale hunting this summer, ending 2 seasons of inactivity. And the Marine Freshwater Research Institute has advised a catch limit of 150 animals for the year, which is a nearly 30% reduction on previous quotas, a precautionary approach due to uncertainties in fin whales' recent population counts. The only remaining step before the hunt can begin is a quota decision by Iceland's Minister of Industries, Hanna Katrin Friedrichsson. Friedrichsson has actually already said publicly that commercial whaling is not in the public interest and that legislation to end it will be introduced this autumn. In other words, the same government that intends to ban whaling may simultaneously authorise it in the months before that ban takes effect. Luke Macmillan of the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Society has been following this closely. Here's what he had to say on developments.
The announcement that it intends to hunt fin whales this summer is deeply alarming. Fin whales are the second largest beings on Earth and are classified as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List. They are critical to healthy ocean ecosystems, to carbon sequestration, to nutrient cycling, to the very productivity of the seas Iceland depends on.
The ecological argument against the hunt is powerful, but the economic case is equally stark. Between 2012 and 2020, Hvalur recorded combined losses from whaling of approximately 3 billion Icelandic krona, which is around $20 million. Whale watching, by contrast, generates around $26 million a year for Iceland. And yet the company persists. Almost all fin whale meat from Iceland hunts is exported to Japan, the only significant market. But that trade has now effectively ceased. Japan has its own stock of whale meat that domestic consumers are not buying, and despite a lack of demand, it has continued to expand its own whaling activities. Political symbolism and taxpayer subsidies are largely what is keeping the Japanese market afloat, making Iceland's bet on Japan as an export market an increasingly hollow one. There is also a serious animal welfare dimension to this story, as Luke explains.
1 in 5 fin whales shot in 2023 required a second harpoon and suffered for up to 35 minutes before death. This is a breach of Iceland's own animal welfare legislation. The economics don't stack up either, and the pointlessness of this hunt is stark. Iceland does not eat fin whale meat. What Hvalur produces is exported exclusively to Japan, where it sits in frozen stockpiles that nobody is buying.
A 2023 report by Iceland's own Food and Veterinary Authority confirmed similar findings, that 41% of hunted whales took an average of 11.5 minutes to die, with some taking up to 2 hours. More than a quarter were harpooned twice. The Icelandic Council on Animal Welfare has formally concluded that current hunting methods are incompatible with Iceland's Animal Welfare Act. Alongside animal welfare violations, monitoring of the 2023 hunt found that the majority of whales killed were female, 11 of whom were pregnant, and one was still lactating, meaning her dependent calf will have been left to die at sea. Inside Iceland, opposition to whaling has grown steadily. Only around 1.5% of Icelanders eat whale meat regularly. Recent polling in 2025 shows the majority of Icelanders are dissatisfied with the permits issued by the previous caretaker government. All major Icelandic organisations have signed a joint letter calling on the government to end whaling, and more than 100 international organisations have done the same. And that international pressure is also mounting. The situation's been formally raised with the United Nations Special Rapporteurs in relation to environmental governance and access to justice, after peaceful anti-whaling activists were prosecuted, despite there being no effective legal avenue to challenge the permits themselves. The European Commission, responding to a parliamentary question, reaffirmed the European Union's opposition to commercial whaling and raised concerns about the prosecution of the environmental defenders. Luke, along with the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Charity, is calling on the minister to decline the 2026 hunt now.
WDC is calling on Minister Hanna Katrin Fredriksson to revoke Vala's licence immediately and to begin the formal process of withdrawing Iceland's reservation to the IWC moratorium. Whale watching generates around $26 million a year for Iceland. Live whales are worth more to Iceland than dead ones, by every measure.
3 previous ministers have opposed hunting fin whales, and yet no one has succeeded in stopping it. Iceland is the only country in Europe that still hunts fin whales, and Fredriksson has stated both the intention and recognised the opportunity to be the one who finally puts a stop to it. So will she act before the fin whale hunt resumes? What dynamic is at play here to allow Iceland to be the outlier when it comes to fin whale hunting? And how much hope is there that a ban will be put in place? If you want to know more about this story, we're hosting a roundtable panel event online tomorrow, Tuesday the 28th of April at 4 p.m. BST, to dig deeper into these questions with a panel of experts, including Luke from this podcast. For more on this story and others from our blue planet, head to the Oceanographic Newsroom. This has been the Ocean News Podcast. I've been Eva Cahill. Thank you for listening.